Hello everyone. You're most welcome to my page. You're most welcome to my YouTube channel, guys. Denzomo's Unscripted. It's an empath exodus. Now on my page, as I have always said, is the page where I help empaths rediscover who they are, discover their power, and help them get out of very terrible situations. So that's why I always call my page the empath exodus, or rather breaking empaths free. For those of you who have been following me for a while now. So beautiful empaths, beautiful souls, you must welcome to another edition of my video today, another edition of my presentation. Now, today I'm going to describe something what they call the black sheep. But before I do that, guys, I want to appreciate all of you who are following me. If you're new to the channel, I would encourage you to like, share, and subscribe. If you are been with me all along, you must welcome back to my page, and you always know what to do. Hit that like button, and you can always share the content if it makes sense to you. Now, I'm going to discuss something what they call the black sheep of the family. But before that, before I jump into that, I would just like to tell you a very short story about my own story, so that maybe it may help some of you out there to resonate with this whole situation of the black sheep. Now, I personally am going through an awakening. So I've been going through an awakening for a while now, and so the very first time I discovered that I was actually awakening, I was doing some research, because after my awakening, I started noticing that there's a lot of things going on. There's a certain new level of consciousness that I was being exposed to, a new level of language, a new level of understanding things. So I was starting to understand things on a deep level. And then that's what made me actually try to understand what exactly is going on. Why do I know all these things? Because these are things that I had never known before all my life. So I started to dig deeper and try to dig into the history. And then that's when I actually remembered my childhood days. So I noticed that in my childhood days, things were always different, because I come from we're a very huge family. So that's when I remembered, and I discovered that actually during my childhood, there's a lot of things that were actually different about me. So there were things that were different, and I would not usually. I just noticed, I found myself that I was doing things a little bit different than most of the other members of the family. You know what I mean? So I was like trying always to go. I was always finding myself going the different direction, and at that moment, in those days, it couldn't make sense. But then after my awakening recently, when I got my awakening, that's when I realized that, okay, now it makes sense. So that's why I was doing things like that. Sometimes I would find myself like, most of the guys of the family were going left, I was always going right. People were doing this, I was doing that. They were eating this kind of food, I was eating this kind of food. So I always found myself like I was a bit different. So when I got my awakening, then all the memory came back in those days when I was a child, and I started remembering a lot of things, that were happening to me, and how my life was transpiring as a kid. And that's when I discovered that so many things were different about me. I was never that kind of a social person. I was not much of a social person. I wanted to stay always by myself. I was a very quiet man. I wanted a quiet kid. I always wanted to be on the side doing my own things. Then I also noticed that I experienced also some sort of isolation. So most of the time when I was a kid, there was that kind of feeling of isolation, whereby I would just feel myself that I can't fit in. Most of the things other people were doing at home, or sometimes even my friends, I just noticed myself that I was not in tune with those things. I was not in tune. I was not in that line. I was not in that line I was not in that direction. I was not in collaboration with those things that my friends were doing, or even my family was doing. So for me, everything was always different. I never liked to go to school. I never liked to play. Sometimes you see people playing football. Sometimes, they're playing with this kind of childish, kiddish, those childhood games. I was always the guy who was like always on the side. I was always doing things differently. So then recently, when I had the awakening, that's when I discovered that actually there is those people what they always call the black sheep of the family. So that's why I'm here today. I'm going to discuss to you the black sheep of the family. So there are most of those people out there, maybe my page, or maybe sometime in my circle or whatever, or even some people who are going through an awakening. You're also going to realize that uh, you're going to discover, it's most likely you will discover that you have always, your life has been very different. So the black sheep of the family, these are people they're like the odds. They're like the odds of the family. They're not like the rest. They are very different, and they are quite different from the rest of the kids. So probably if you have gone through an awakening, or if you're in an awakening right now, you might want to remember, and you will discover that probably in your childhood days you were the different one. You were somebody who they call the different one. You were the odd man out. You were the only guy who was always like everybody. When they wanted always to point a finger on somebody, it was always you. Everybody would point the finger. You are probably the one who was always doing the things wrong. You were the one who was causing the chaos at home. You were the one who is doing the accidents at home. All those kind of things. So you might have noticed, or you might have discovered that in your childhood days, you have always been taken as the odd one who was always doing the wrong things. And you might also, sometimes even the black sheep, you find that the black sheep of the family, they are those people who they notice that they are always like the less privileged. So black sheep people is like the black sheep of the family is like those people who is like always they feel like they're left out. You know what I mean? So you always feel like when other people are being gifted with some things, or so let me say, for example, when other people are receiving favors, maybe from their parents or maybe sometimes from their friends, you notice that you are the only one who is not getting any present. If it's a Christmas time, for example, and you find like most of the people in your circle, most of the people in your family, they're like getting maybe presents or something like that. You're always going to find you're always the last one who is considered. You're the only last one to get your present. Sometimes if people have been eating, you're the last one to eat. Sometimes people who is you find yourself you realize that you remember also that most of the time when you were a kid, your parents have always quoted you as being very different. Now those are the people who they call the black sheep. You know what I mean? So when you're awakening and you're in the stages of awakening, when you start your ascension process, you will always notice that you will remember, because most of the time you can't remember some of these things. But when you start the awakening, because that cloudy part of your head is clearing up, and you're starting to see things very clearly, you're starting to look through the matrix very well. That's when you're actually going to realize that most of the time in your childhood, when you were a kid, or when you were young, even sometime when you were in school, when you were with friends, sometime at school, you were always very different. Kids, when they were going to play, maybe they wanted to play football game, maybe they wanted to go and play basketball game. You're also going to remember that you were always the kid who was like not bothered with that whole thing, because you just never didn't want to move that direction that everybody's moving. You know what I mean? So you always wanted to do your own thing, and you always wanted to live your own life, and you didn't want to associate a lot with the crowd. So you were always like opposed to the crowds. It's like you were always doing your own things on the side, and other people are doing things on the other side. You know what I mean? So the black sheep is that person who is like considered to be unique. He's considered to be unique because most of the things he does, uh, they are very, very specific. So they are doing very, 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 very specific things. They don't just say things what everybody is saying. So I remember even sometime I quote myself when I remember I was in school when I was a kid. So my parents came to visit us, and I remember. So my parents were asking us, because I was in a boarding school. I studied in a boarding school, so like that situation whereby we go to the school, and the parents will every now and then they came to visit us in the school, and give us some visit us, see how we're doing, check our reports and all that. So I remember them asking me one day, they were like, "Oh, you guys, Nicholas, what did you guys eat today? What did you have for lunch today?" So one of my brothers was saying, "Oh, we had meat." Because I was a kid that time, so I didn't know the whole thing. I was like, "Oh no, we didn't have meat. We had a cow. Actually, we had a cow." So I was like, and everybody was laughing at me. So when you're a black sheep in the family, you're always going to realize that you are very, very specific with those things. You most of the time in your childhood, during your time when you're growing up, you will discover that most of the time you have been doing things very differently You have been very specific with those things you've been doing, so, or you've been saying. So, for example, like I've told you, my parents were asking me, "What did you guys eat for lunch?" And my brother was saying we had meat. We had beef today. So me, I was very specific. I was like, no, no, we didn't have beef. Actually, we had a cow. So because I didn't even know that a cow, meat was actually meat was from the cow. Beef was like taken from the cow or something. So I didn't know I, I was very specific that there's a difference between beef and a cow. You know what I mean? So I just wanted to give an example. So a black sheep, there are so many things that are going to be different. When you're a kid and you notice that, because there's very big possibility most of the time in a family, there is most likely one of the kids, a family member, is going to be black sheep. You know what I mean? There's a kid who is going to be black sheep, and most of the time, in the majority of cases, most of those black sheep have always awakened, at a later stage. Maybe some of the kids even awaken when they're still young, you know what I mean? So, but then you realize that that is the reason. When you're awakening now, that is when you're going to remember that actually that's the actual reason that you were the black sheep. So I just wanted to explain to you guys that story of the black sheep, why you were always the different one, why you were always during your childhood, during your early schools, during your early colleges, you were always the different one. You were always the one who wanted to do things differently. I remember myself personally. I just didn't like to go to school. I didn't like to go to school. Anything what was involved in sitting in class and just listening to the teacher telling me, I don't know what teaching me or something like this. Even if I found myself in school or in class, I just discovered that there's some I couldn't stand. I just couldn't stand class. Sometimes I remember myself even sometimes walking out of the class and just going and sitting somewhere under the trees, because I just couldn't stand class. And most of the time, I even I paid the price definitely, because most of the time when the exams used to come out, when the exams, like we used to do the exams at the end of the tuition, I used to fail like most of the papers because I just wouldn't resonate with class. I just wouldn't resonate ever since I was in primary. I just never resonated with class. It was never something for me. You know what I mean? And most of the time when I was with kids, those kids that we were playing with, because I was from a single school, so sometimes we have those sessions of the football. When we finish the classes, we would go and play the football outside there. And I always found myself that I just couldn't manage, like staying in the crowds. I was always just like, I would say, okay, you guys can carry on and go and play. So I was just like finding myself sitting on the side of the pitch and just spectating, you know what I mean? So I was always a spectator in the football games, whether it was rugby, football, or something. Even sometimes making friends was very difficult for me. So I'm just giving you the examples of the black sheep, because maybe you're out there and you're awakening, and you're thinking in your head, why me? Why am I the one who is awakening? Why is this happening to me? Because definitely, guys, you do awaken for a reason. You know what I mean? You do awaken. It's not for nothing that you're awakening. So you're awakening for a reason. The only reason why you're awakening is to start to live your life purpose, to understand exactly what you came here to do, and to follow your life mission. You know what I mean? So because definitely when you're awakening, I've always told you on my channel that awakening is not for everybody. It's not everybody is going to awaken. Yeah, a lot of people are going to awaken, definitely, but it's very few people. Maybe probably, I don't know, because some people awaken and they have one foot in spirituality and one foot down in the matrix. So like they're in the middle of they can't balance the whole thing together, because it may not be an easy journey, definitely, but it's a journey that you have to persevere. You have to you have to trust the divine process, and you have to keep on moving, because definitely when you're awakening, the divine has chosen you to awaken. So you're a chosen one, whereby the divine has chosen you to awaken for a purpose, so that you can start to fulfill that life purpose you came here to do. You know what I mean? You came here to fulfill that purpose of life. And so if you are a chosen one, if you are awakened out there, and you probably just started your ascension, because sometimes it can be scary in the beginning. When I was awakening myself, I was very, 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 very scared in the beginning. I was like, oh my God, what is happening to me? You know what I mean? So I was like, what is happening? Everything started changing. I was completely different. I was like thinking different. I started losing friends. I started, sometimes even there are moments when I would spend the whole day without watching TV. I would just be there on maybe my phone, or sometimes on my tablet. I'm just researching, doing a lot of study, reading things, some reading magazines, reading books, reading this. like educating myself on more and more things, because when I started to awaken, I realized that there are so many things about life I didn't know. There are so many things. There's a whole million subjects, different chapters of the life that I never knew existed. Because sometime when I was in the when I used to be in the matrix before, there is everything I didn't know about. There's so many things I didn't know about. After the awakening, I discovered a lot of things started coming into me. My brain, my higher self started to connect with a lot of information. Because guys, I have to remind you, when you're awakening, you download a lot of information every day. Every day something just pops up in your mind. Every day something just pops up, and anything that pops up, it is exactly something what you're supposed to address. Because when it pops up, it doesn't pop up for a reason. That means that it pops up in your head, in your mind, so that you can deliver that message out into the universe, and definitely somebody is going to pick up that message and it resonates with them. So that's one of the purpose why people awaken, because there are some of those life purpose. There's a life purpose you're supposed to live. There's a journey you're supposed to follow, and there's no other way around it. So when you're awakening, you have to know that you've been chosen for a specific purpose. You didn't come here for nothing. You didn't come here just to eat and go to sleep, and go to work and then come back home and do the normal things. You have definitely been chosen for a purpose. But for the people who are awakening out there, and you're just thinking, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why am I the one who is awakening? Maybe you've been used to your old lifestyle. You've been used to your old job you've been doing. You've been used to going to the cinemas, watching movies. You've been used to going for a beer in the pubs with your friends. You've been used to so many things, and definitely you're starting to unplug out of everything. Because when you awaken, guys, I've always told you, when you're awakening, you definitely unplug out of the 3D state of consciousness, and you move to the 5D state of the fifth dimension, the fifth 5D state of consciousness, whereby you're going to discover so many things, and all these things about the old you are going to fall out. It does not matter what, but friends, family, and whatever, a lot of things are going to fall out, and your life is going to start moving in a different direction. And sometimes people will call you crazy, because the people who know you're a black sheep because you're different. I've always told you guys, I've told you from this beginning of this video, that the black sheep are different people. You have always been different from your birth, ever since you were a kid. So you've been different, and you have always not taken that direction of things that other people do, because you are different. You have always been different in your life from the beginning, because your life is supposed to go like that until your awakening stage, whereby you're going to now start to move into your life, your life journey. You're going to step into your life journey and start living your life purpose, and do those things that you came here to do. So if you're a black sheep out there, like I've said, you may not know it, that you are one of the black sheep in the family. Or I don't know, probably you didn't have a big family. Maybe you were two of you at home. Maybe even you were the only kid at home. Maybe you were five at home. But you always realize that when you're awakening, you were that person who they called the black sheep, that guy who was different, the person who was always different, the one who wanted to do things differently. You were always the rebellious one. You never accepted, you never agreed with your parents. Your parents say it's A, you say it's B. Your teachers say it's this, you say it's that. So you have never agreed with anything. Your friends want to play, you don't want to play. You want to sit on the side and just watch. Everything about you has always been different, and that is the same reason why you have always been called the black sheep. So that was just, the video was just all about explaining to you who exactly is the black sheep. Who are those people, the black sheep, and why the black sheep? Because definitely you've awakened and you've started having all those questions, like I did, of course, definitely, until I came across this word, the black sheep. I got the information definitely from my higher self, that definitely that's the reason why I was always called the black sheep. I was always called the different one, the odd one. The other guy that wouldn't resonate with everybody. That's how I discovered that I was actually the black sheep of the family. So when you're awakening, guys, you have to be patient with yourself, and just follow the journey. The journey is an ascension journey, so it's a journey you're supposed to take. You've been chosen because you're supposed to take that journey. So just believe in yourself and believe in God, that you're finally going to walk that journey, and you're going to reach where you're going. You're going to definitely reach your destination, and definitely your life will not be the same. So never you might have a lot of temptations, like to get back, like to step back in your old lifestyle, to get back, because you're going to lose friends, and sometimes it's very scary. So you might want to step back and reconnect with your old friends you've been with. But guys, you have to remember that when you move from the third dimension state of consciousness to the fifth dimension state of consciousness, your life can never be the same. And definitely it's a very big paradigm shift. So you have already shifted from that level of consciousness, and those friends have got to go, definitely. As much as whichever way you want to look at it, those friends have got to go. There's nothing you can do about that. You just have to let them go. Sometimes even your family members, even your parents, they have got to go, because when you're awakening, you move out of that state of consciousness and you shift into the fifth dimension state of consciousness. That is the level of knowing things, the more sophisticated level of knowing things. And that is why sometimes even most of my friends, I know some of my friends, they've been like, wow, everything you're talking, we don't understand what you're saying, I don't know what you're saying, this is the... Some people, of course, definitely have said something that resonates with them, and I've been able to, they've been able to get my points, but it's not everybody will get my points, because most of the friends I've had, most of my circles, definitely, they're all in that level, the 3D level, the 3D state of consciousness, and most of them can't resonate with me. But there are some of who have picked up, and so you're going to realize that as well, if you're out there and you're awakening, there are those things that are going to happen that are really going to, they're going to make you really wonder everything you ever knew. You're going to revisit your life. You're going to revisit your childhood. You're going to revisit your university times, the college times. You're going to remember everything that you used to do, and you're always going to find out why you are the different one. So guys, I can't make the video longer than that. If you're awakening out there, I just wanted to inform you, or just to let it out there, that you were always the black sheep, and I've explained to you who is the black sheep. You were always the odd person. You were always the different one. You were always the weird one in the whole family, and you were always the less privileged, because when you're black sheep, usually most of the time, you don't move like the other flock. So you're always the less privileged one. All the people will be... Sometimes you will feel like you're the only one left behind. People are moving on, people are doing this, people are doing that, but you're the only one being left behind. You're always feeling left behind. But the whole reason why you're being left behind is because the universe has already aligned your journey and aligned your destiny, and you're not going to move. There's no way you're going to move the same way like everybody's moving. Yes, you may do that for a short while, until your awakening time. When you awaken, that's when you're going to realize that actually, that's why you are always the black sheep, who was always like you felt like you are the last. You feel like you are the last person to do things. You feel like you are the odd man out. You feel like you are the different one. That is because your life has been programmed that way by the universe at some point to awaken you, so that you will move now and start to live, to follow that direction that you've been assigned or you've been ordained to come here to do. So guys, that being said, there's almost unscripted, guys. Love you all, guys. Remember to share the video. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and remember to click on the bell icon, so that in case I drop out every video now and then, so you don't miss any videos coming up. And other than that, and guys, before I go, I want to make something. I want to give a short notice. I've decided that I'm going to be doing videos every Monday to Friday. So I'll be making 5 videos a day, Monday to Friday, and on the weekend I'll not be dropping out anything. I'll just be doing do my own other things, and do some research, and go into meditation and do some other things. But otherwise, my videos will be, for those of you who are following me on the page, my videos are always going to be usually from Monday until Friday, and that's when you should expect me to put out the videos. Other than that, guys, it's been a blessing to have you guys on board. If you're awakening, a safe ascension journey. If you are on the way to awaken, I hope you get something from this. And guys, other than that, I love you all. Stay blessed and peace out. Denzomo signing out. Bye.